Thank you.
So much. There we go. We've got
No,
like,
we don't die. No,
yeah.
apologies, man. I had applied for this job in Eastern Cape in the government that side, and I saw the call coming from that side. I was like, let me take it. I thought
Sure.
I could be able to continue after, but it looks like
Yeah.
you just done after that. Sorry, man, about that.
No, no, it's all right, bro. I hope you get the job. That's more
Yeah,
important.
I hope too. I won't be
Yeah.
doing lives on phone if I get that jobs now. I'm gonna be doing with on proper camera. Let me just step in exactly to where I left off now.
Yeah.
So in our homes, we always have this extra room
Uh-huh.
where we can just accommodate either a visitor or just any person who was just going past.
Uh-huh.
So when you paid landlawulo of being banji wendombini, you can be given a room. Now, the thought process behind that is that they need, when the girl gets pregnant, they need to know who was the girl sleeping with, who was the girl in love with, in a relationship with. So to them, the logic to them is to actually have some sort of knowing that, okay, you so and so have a relationship with so and so. So when something happens, we know where to go and how to structure the whole thing. So that is their whole thought process. Yeah. So that is
Okay.
in number 3 now. Ne?
Okay. So that whichever home it is who decides that? Is it the guy's side of the home or is it the woman's side of the home?
The home is the girl's home.
Okay, so never the guy. So
Now,
the guy's place, eh?
because bizwa ngokunyoba. Now that
Okay.
the guy has came forward, yazonyoba. He is the
Uh-huh.
sub son-in-law that is known in that home. So he deserves
Okay.
the respect of being given a room so that when he wants to come visit our daughter, he can come here without being given the problem. Now you no longer have to stand in the streets like other boys. You can come to visit here because now you are known. But even the way of doing that is still gonna be respectfully. You're gonna go behind. You're not just gonna go to the main house and
Yeah.
all that. No, you are acknowledged by just being given that room, and that should this girl be pregnant, and also when it's time for you to get married, if you are still in that relationship, even your home knows that your first point of reference, you already have a relationship with that home and all that, and then it goes there. So those are the kind of intlawulo that we commonly know in our
Okay.
traditional setup growing. And
Okay.
the one of when you have impregnated a girl, it has
Uh-huh.
been unquestionable before you and Ranger came into the life.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, you impregnate a girl, you know
Mm-hmm.
that you have to pay a certain fee. There's one that is for umdana isisu, and then
Uh-huh.
there's one where you pay for umdana. Now, because you know izizwe zakwantu zihlukile, sinamaXhosa,
Yeah.
sinamampondo,
Yeah.
ngamaXhosa, ngamampondo, ngamabomvane, ngamamfengu, ngama-in. So even
Mm-hmm.
though the practice is standard, but it might be practiced a little bit different from the other because obviously this is a social claim, you see. So now where we're from on our side, um kukho intlawulo where uhlawula isisu, acknowledging
Uh-huh.
that you're the one who impregnated the girl and the child
Mm-hmm.
is going to be yours, you are from so and so and all that and all that. And then the
Okay.
second one is when you actually pay intlawulo now that you actually inviting the boy over, it's a boy, over to your family. They can take your clan name, they can take your surname, they can be, rituals can be done. You talk to your ancestors that this now is part of the family, you need to protect him, just like everything that is at your home. So it's kind of your child, everything. The only thing that the child doesn't have as a benefit is that if you even and I love this, it's actually enrolling now. There's a lot of cases like this now. Let's say you were dating a certain girl and then you paid all damages and all that, and then you guys decided to get married,
Mm-hmm.
the same girl. The
Mm-hmm.
child, culturally, is not your firstborn, is
True.
not the one who's gonna inherit your whatever. Is not like
Yeah.
akuyondlalifa,
Yeah.
even though the same mother, the same father, and they married now. Unyana wokuqala enizomfumana emtshadweni nguye indlalifa. It's not gonna be that boy outside, because that one is regarded as umntana wentombazana.
Yeah.
That is the more traditional setup. And I want you to come in just exactly here.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So that's a good start. Hopefully I can, I mean, there was a lot of questions. I didn't wanna disturb you there, because obviously I wanted to find out what the basis was from and all of those things. So look, I can see the thought process behind all of that. You know, in a setting, in a rural setup where there's no laws govern, and the people have to then bring laws, and we have to kind of agree on certain things all together as a society. As long as we agree, then that's the law that's going to be, and that's how we're going to do things. And also the people around, and also the people around in that area also conform to the same things. So you'd have to have a lot of variables that are set, right? You can't have that and have another person from another tribe living in the same area, or in the same area. They'll have completely different thoughts as well. So it's like it's specific to very specific things and very specific areas. So I can understand the thought process about it. I can also see the issues that it can raise as well, right? And I think more than anything, a lot of that is great for short-term things, and it's almost as if it was created. When it was created, it was to solve that particular issue in that particular time or place in time, right? Now, as the world expands and people move, and you have different people and different thought processes and different ways of thinking, then all of a sudden you go, we have to kind of revisit this, because now does it then work for the future generation? And is it as beneficial as we thought it was going to be? Or is it as beneficial as it was for us now in the society? Because obviously for them to have agreed to that then, that meant that was the best possible thing for them then. And even if it wasn't, let's say, even if it wasn't per se, at least they agreed with something, right? Because the other side is to just have chaos, right? So from a female's point of view, like I have a sister, so I think that's great. I think that's amazing, right? Because that means that whenever my sister goes out and does whatever she wants to do, if she is caught...
I want to mention something here. I'm going to tap into whether this thing is still applicable, or like, is it still relevant and all that. Which I have spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I have answers and answers of this. But I want you to understand the whole mindset of abantu. I want to say, let me use the term of abantu. Now, I'm using the term abantu deliberately, because I know you're not going to ask me this. We're not going to get there with this conversation, so I want to force it there. Umuntu is not a direct translation for a human, as it will be said in English.
Okay.
When you say umuntu, you're actually indulging in the genealogical setup of that person. When you're saying umuntu, it's a tribe name. It's a tribe ancestry. When ungumuntu, you practice into. Now, it's a descendancy where the Zulus, the Xhosas, the Sothos, all that we descend from Singabantu. So a white person cannot be Undu.
Okay.
But now, the language, when the language grew, it failed to actually find a term that speaks to what is a human. When a Xhosa language expands, what we did is it was communalized, that it was misinterpreted, but let's say reinterpreted, that now as traditionally it's known that when you're saying umdu, you mean a human being, but when you're saying umdu, you're actually talking about their ancestry level. Okay. But what I wanted to actually get at is that abantu in the side where I come from, the Mpondo side, is that a woman is acknowledged for all aspects. The femininity of the woman the emotional side of the women. And I want to take one example in that. You see, when we slaughter a cow, there's certain meat parts of the cow that are actually stronger than others when you eat it. So it's not very easy for a woman to actually take a bite in that. Now, when we slaughter a cow, there's certain meats that are actually only for women. Just on how soft or hard they are, they're gonna be able to cater for the women. That is acknowledging the femininity of the women.
Okay.
In our house, Sinel and it, the main house where we do all things, there is side for women, there is side for men. The women always have a place. So a woman is treated specially. We do not treat women as our equals to a certain extent. Everyone has their part to play. Let me not be hesitant to say that we do not treat women as equals, but their task is equals. A woman's task is equally important as a man's. I thought Corona was gone. So what we do is everyone has their place. Amakhwenkwe has inyama yawo. Amadoda has inyama yabo. Omama banenyama yayo. Amaxhego anenyama yawo. Because amazinyo wawo are no longer as strong as they were when they were younger. So everybody is treated with that sort of respect. So before we go in the whole conversation about why a woman is treated in this regard and all that, not that regard and all that, I just want to tell you how far back it goes and how extended the program of treatment of a woman is. So it is not only in certain segments, but in the whole scale, a woman has a special treatment than a man by the man. Also, a man also has a certain special treatment that they get from the women. So it's a beautiful place to be when it's practiced in its full extent.
Yes. So that, you see, that exactly what you're saying is exactly why I understand it, right? So again, from the basis of a specific time and place, when you have cultural practices like that, which is why, again, like I say, that I totally understand as to why it was done, right? Like Guluga and how you would then Guluga Gwako, how then you would get a wife. Yabo like and all of that. It's all beautiful, all makes sense, fantastic, right? So if I was a guy that was living back in those days, that would be amazing. That's exactly what I'd like. That's exactly what the woman would like. Everything would live in harmony, right? So I can totally understand it from that viewpoint about, okay, Abanabatala back in those days used to have certain molars used to be weaker, so therefore they would eat this, and therefore it was then just basically the tradition. Same with the boys, same with the men, same with the females. All of that makes sense in that particular time, that particular place. That's why it's beautiful.
I sense a but.
No, there's no but. I totally understand that. I agree with that. Right? Now the thing is this, is that if there are some cultures where all of that stuff is also practiced, because it's still the exact same way that it was back in those days, right? So you don't want to go there and disrupt anything because it's worked for them, right? It's just like how countries are. There's certain countries that live a certain way and certain countries that live a different way based on the amount of people or based on the consensus of that society. So you don't want to say to a country that's a kingdom to go and be a democracy, or one that's a democracy to go be a kingdom, because it's deeply rooted, right? And they've formed how they should work together. Because then as soon as you come and you change that, you disrupt everything, which goes back to what we introduced ourselves with, the whole structure, right? So again, it makes perfect sense as to why that makes sense. Because, yeah, it's why else would you have it any other way, right? So everyone agreed to that.
Yeah. And you mentioned something that is very important, and I think a brother of mine, I had suggested that in his PhD, he wants to do his PhD. I told him that one of the most beautiful topics that he can choose is look at the chiefs, all that cultural structure, how it has been amended to the new ways of doing things in the country. Because as it stands now, it's far behind. And in how I've personally analyzed things, the country needs that structure more than it ever did right now, based on certain aspects. One thing that you mentioned is that all those beautiful structures that were created by our parents for their ways of living have now failed to actually amend with how the world have shifted currently right now. The excuse would be that for them, they never created their structure for anyone else than them. The hegemonic powers that were seen by the West, we never thought of that. We never saw ourselves as people who can be imposing our way of doing things to other people. We are just people of peace and all that.
Yeah.
Now, what have the traditional structures failed to do is to actually be able to amend or to merge our structures to the governmental structures. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I'm
the guy that we were going to have a conversation with that's his forte. Like exactly that. He had a conversation about me with the exact same thing of the kings and all of that. How everything should be structured is the way that it should be, and the way that they let things go is how they failed, and how everything else failed. But we'll add him in some other days. But okay, sorry about that.
And now we're having a conversation about why is it, I'm not sure whether the conversation, why is it relevant to pay in Inhlawulo, why is it still relevant? Where are we exactly? Are we on still relevant or on relevant?
Both for me.
Both for you. All right.
Yeah.
On the still relevant, I'm not sure. I did not think about this. I'm not sure, because now our world, our country it's a very hard place to be and to have structures. We do not have societies anymore. We have communities.
Yes.
In the traditional definition of a society as a place where people live with same rules, same principles, same values, and same standards. That is the traditional definition.
Okay, just wait. I'm gonna
just wait. Whereas the community is between people. Be careful.
Sorry, man. I'm gonna have to head off in like the next 5 minutes.
Sorry?
I'm sorry. I have to head off in the next 5 minutes. We'll probably finish this off either tonight, or tomorrow. But I think it's going to be it's a good start, man. I'm really buzzing to have it finished, or at least as close as possible. But yeah. Hey?
We've actually extended it more than we have covered. We haven't started actually covering what
we haven't even started.
We haven't started, but man, I appreciate the platform, because before we went on live, I was actually looking at your live stories, and I saw that it's actually your thing to have this kind of conversation, and we need more of them. We need to popularize them. It needs to be a norm to have this kind of conversation, and I'm a very critic person. When I even watch podcasts. There's very few podcasts that I see that they actually indulge into the conversation to its fullest extent. They always lack the historical and background of the conversation. They just take the conversation from the middle class. So I feel like with platform like this, when you are a person of interest like this, get more people who actually love the conversation like you, and then you can just make the conversation to be a popular thing. Thank you very much, Michi.
Sure, bro. No stress. No stress, my man. Yeah. Look, I always explain this. I sound like a broken record, but I think again, the whole point of it was not. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you correctly.
Oh, so yeah. I was saying the whole point of it is not even to be a podcast, but it's the whole point is to the fact that if I can have a conversation like this every day with someone and it would benefit a lot of other people more
Yes.
than I can, then I might as well have it on the live and then send it through, save it, and then whoever wants to listen or butt in, then they can do it. Because there's nothing that frustrates me more than like if you have like if I'm speaking to you and we're having a cultural talk and I care nothing about culture and you do, right? And you then are pouring your whole heart out, but I know that, oh, you know what? There's a boy of mine that would really love this. But now I can't explain it to him and he's not here. But if you save it and you send it, he can always hear it, and then it's much more worthwhile for him. Yeah.
Yes. The conversation always benefits more than the person involved.
Yes, exactly. And then with that, there's no backhanded or undercover thing with it. It's not like, hey, bro, come through because I want this following or I want that and I want this. It's like, look, I was gonna have this conversation, whether we do it on the live or whether we do it face to face or online. So it doesn't matter. It's just a benefit, even more benefit to have it like this. But if you can't, cool, we'll call each other and we'll have the conversation. So so the other person also knows that there's nothing to it. It's you bring whatever you bring. You can take the conversation wherever you want to take it. You can take the topic wherever you want to take it. I'll come there with you. I'll take it wherever I want to take it. You'll do the same. And then even with that, it's like there's no regulation. We regulate each other. And you say what you need to say. I say whatever I need to say. We go on with our lives afterwards. And then you find that like after a few days, you go, oh, let me revisit that. And you go, shit, yeah, that was a good point, or that was a good point. And someone else now told me something else about this. And with that, you can grow, yeah. And you know that there's no pressure into having to look good or having to edit this and edit that. It's like, look, it's there. That's it. You do whatever you want with it.
Well, I grow this conversation, my G. Grow this conversation. Yeah. I was actually tempted to actually ask you to invite someone who can have a very good insight in this kind of conversation. I'm lucky to call him a brother, but he is a very traditional person. I don't think he has an Instagram account.
Yeah, look, you can tell him to follow. You can tell him to follow because the only way that you can go on the live is if you follow. Otherwise, what he can do, if he doesn't want to follow, you can go on the live, and then like now what we're doing, you tell him to go on, and then he can request to come on, and then I can add him. So he doesn't have to follow me. It doesn't have to happen. No, so
he do not have any social media account at all. He only has WhatsApp.
Oh, then he can comment on yours. You can sit with him or whatever. You can be on your thing. It doesn't matter.
Wow. One of these days, we'll see what we can do. He's currently out of province. He's now in Mpumalanga.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, he has a very good insight. He has a very good insight of things. We like we're doing right now, me and you. This is me and him in daily basis, whether it's on the phone, whether we're sitting together, and we'll be taking random topics and we just extend.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe what he can do is he can ask someone that has Insta, whoever he's living with, whichever girl that he has to pay in Kaula with. I'm sure she has Instagram. and then he can use that. He can use that for.
Have you paid in cloud? Have you paid in cloud?
No.
Go pay your cloud and say, see you.
To what? To who? I don't have any of that stuff. I don't have those problems. But I see people that have them. That's why I have the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually a good actually a good way of doing things where you actually have information about things before you actually go through that whole process. And when you go through that whole process, it's better conversation. Right now, I'm supposed to be in Eastern Cape. My bigger brother, Uyolobola. I had never
That's another
sat in
one.
this conversation.
That's another
So
one. That's another one. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Uyolobola, but I'm not there. I wish I was there. So just to be part of the conversation so I can be able to reference when we go forward. Right now, all the
Yeah.
information that I know about the thing is from what I've learned, from what they say and what I've seen and all that. But I've never been part of the conversation actually. But
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
that, just before we go, I want to say that all these questions that we have are relevant, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the reason that we have these questions is that now we have a stranger in our house,
Mm-hmm.
and we have kept into their way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's a bad thing, but it's some sort of transformation. Now, the
Yeah.
question is, who's supposed to be transforming to whose side?
Yes. Yeah.
If you're coming to my house with rules, whose rules are supposed to be heading the house? You see, are we
Yeah.
supposed to find a common ground? Why are we supposed to
Yeah.
find a common ground? Are you supposed to
Yeah.
subscribe to my house rules? Why? You see,
Yeah.
everything has a
Yeah.
why. It is
Yeah.
important that we are interested in this kind of conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, right now, the biggest problem that the culture has right now, in terms of what you just mentioned, that it's another topic that we talked about, the lobola thing. There's money involved in lobola, and an average man in South Africa is getting paid like 6,000 rand, and lobola is like 100,000 rand. It means it's not feasible. Now, the repercussions to that is the structure of marriage is fading, and we see the impacts of the fading of the structure of marriage. The chaos is more than ever. The children ungovernable. They, from the very young age, you cannot actually groom a child to what they're supposed to be, because one parent is in school, one parent is at work, and the child is at school. You see, there is no parenting structure because we cannot
Mm-hmm.
be parents. But the conversation that just all these segments of this conversation that just keep on adding. So it is important that we have this conversation that what do we do now, that because now we had the marriage structure that required a man to pay lobola, but now the lobola is paid in monetary values and there's no job in South Africa, but yet the society needs marriage. What do we do as the Black community?
Yeah.
Because it's actually the Black
Yeah.
community that is not working. White community is sorted, Indian community is sorted. Colored community, just whenever you want to get married, you get married. There's no lobola involved. So how do we deal with this stuff as a Black community? How do we move in with times? But how do we
Mm.
stay relevant to who we are?
Yeah.
Those are the conversations
Yeah.
that we need.
Yeah. And that's pretty much the debate that me and you are having now is exactly that. It's the we know we need to move, but we know we need to keep rigid. But at the same time, you can't keep rigid and move. So it's which parts need to move and which parts need to then move later or not move and be left behind. That's the whole political debate. Yeah. But the problem is, yeah, because we both know that too much movement is going to be a huge problem. But then staying
Yes,
stagnant is also a huge problem. So it's like, okay, well then where are we? Where are we? Where are we going? What's the solutions and so on? You can only start
yes.
that with debate and questions and things like
You
that.
see now, I'm
Yeah.
starting to see things in your way and Rangers' way, eh? The things,
But yeah. Now we'll have this. When we start next time, we'll start there. I'll explain what my viewpoint is
mm,
and the movement forward and basically where we're going. Like I said before, I understand exactly why that works. But now the problem
mm-hmm.
is that we need to move. And then how are we going to move? Because if we then use that same formula there, it's going to give us different results this time. And it might be the worst results in how to move then. Which is why I say maybe back in the day, like again, your brother's more traditional. He understands it traditionally. So it works for him, right? But now maybe the female is not going to be traditional and she's more modern. So therefore, whatever he expects from a traditional female, you won't get there. So then how do you then adjust that? Yeah, so...
let me give you one last personal experience that I just got this past weekend.
Yeah.
I have a son. Their mother is Christian, and I am not. I do not subscribe to Christianity. But now the child is not okay. He needs to be taken care of. Now the roots are two. Christianity takes the Western route, and then me, I take the Western route and the traditional route, but they do not like the traditional route at all. Even now, we're still having that conversation. What do we do?
Yeah.
Whose view is important? Whose way of doing things govern the child?
Yes.
How do we match the child to our way of doing things?
How do you navigate together?
Why a child is supposed to subscribe to your religion? Why a child supposed to subscribe to my religion? If we're saying that a child cannot subscribe to your religion because they do not know it, they cannot subscribe to mine, and then how do we raise this child together? That is a problem.
The goal is common.
That is a problem of marriage. Having a child outside marriage. But it's one of those. But my G, let me leave, man.
So I'll hit you up. Don't stress. Sure, bro. Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you very much, my G.
Cheers, man. See you, bro.